All right. Go ahead and press record. Oh, no. Let me see. Okay. I think I'm live. Okay. All right. So it's Sunday. Can y'all see me? Can you hear me? All right. So it's Sunday. Sorry, you guys. It was an echo. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. Let me know if you can. All right. So today I'm going to be talking real quick about self-concept, bending reality to your command, basically helping you all with understanding, shifting, moving into dimensions of who you are, and allowing your word, allowing God within to command the reality that you desire to see. Even with everything, all these things going on, really focusing in on developing the identity, the belief, the being of who you are. Why is this so important? Why is this so important? Well, it's important, especially in business, is because if business is truly 80% of mind and 80% of the thought process of how you see yourself in the marketplace, then 20% of, and 20% of the business is actually strategy / doing, because at this particular point in the game, you really do have to get to a place where you believe with all your heart, soul, and mind that you're supposed to be here. Okay, so bending reality to your command. Okay, so there are several pieces to this that I want to talk about. And one of which, like, there are universal laws, as we discussed in the past. Some of y'all have heard me talk about the law of assumption. Some of you have heard me talk about, the law of cause and effect. Those two universal laws, I really believe, should be a prerequisite to the law of attraction. The law of attraction is always in motion, always in operation. Okay, so like attracts like. You attract who you are as you are today based on the belief of who you are today, which is your existing self-concept. Okay. However, when you are moving the needle in your life and in your business and coming out of dimensions of the middle class, coming out of dimensions of religious, supremacy, Christian supremacy, or all these other supremacies that we have going on, decolonizing, deconstructing the mindset when it comes down to lack and limitations and not enough, you're going to find yourself having to revisit, redefine, and rejuvenate, restructure how you see your self-concept. This is going to be a good lesson real quick, okay? This lesson is going to go into Member Vault, so that's also a plus for SGA for sure, but I wanted to kind of give you all some understanding of this self-concept when it comes down to how we see ourselves and why it's such a huge factor in business these days, and why it would behoove you to do so much more work on this. Because as you work on this level of yourself, you will find that it will become an armor for when you go into the marketplace and the month is, here, and then you have a bad month, and then you have a good quarter, and then you have a bad quarter, and then you have a good year and then a bad year. Or you have clients that say they're not getting results, and then clients that are getting amazing results. So self-concept is very, very important. Okay. And you've got to decide what that looks like for you. Amen, Robin. Yes. So this is the part here. So Carl Rogers is a psychologist. If you've, studied psychology, you kind of probably know who that is, or in some capacity. Carl Rogers was a human psychologist back in the day. And he developed the origination of the self-concept. And there's three main pieces. I mean, they've also, developed this theory over time, where they've added these micro layers to the self-concept, but I'm going to talk about these three main ones that I think are very, very ideal and important as you develop as an entrepreneur in 2022 and beyond. Is that number one, ideal self. That is the person who you want to become. That is the person who you want to be. Your words, thoughts, behaviors, attributes, how you dress, how you look, how you carry your body, how you talk to people, how you communicate, how you show up online, how you run your business, how people, receive you, how you want people to receive you. All of these have everything to do with the ideal self, who you are becoming, okay? And then you have self-image, right? So self-image is basically your actual self, if in so many ways. So actual self is who you are right now, even with your quote unquote shortages, flaws, whatever, how we want to call it that. But your actual self is who you are as you are today, even in the things that you desire to change, okay? So for example, actual self is like, okay, I'm here. I have clients. I live in a really nice swanky townhome, but my ideal self is to live in a $5 million mansion, right? To have, personal assistants and this, that, and the third. That is the ideal self. I wish to be this. I wish to be able to pick up and go and do this. But my actual self is that right now I'm doing well. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling amazing about myself. But I know what it is to be true is that my ideal self is unfolding each and every single moment of my day. And I'm only going in that direction and nothing else. That is where the law of assumption pops in. Okay. The law of assumption is the wish fulfilled, to step into the wish fulfilled. And as I'm stepping into that wish fulfilled and I accept my goal, my wish, my dream, my vision to be a reality, which trumps all of the realities, that what I desire comes true for me. So also the law of assumption really kind of delves into, the law of assumption really delves into, this is your movie, like this is your screenplay, this is your production. You're the writer, you're the producer, you're the screenwriter, you're the director, you're the main actor in your own movie. Why doesn't it seem like that? Why does it seem like, Jay, like I'm feeling like I'm in somebody else's movie? Because you are, until you take control of your own power. Denzel Washington, one of my favorite actors, even Angela Bassett, she's also my favorite female woman actor. They had to act in everybody else's movies until they were chosen to direct people's movies and things of that nature from their viewpoint, from their experience. So they had people to stand in different places based on accounts of how they envisioned in their mind of how people were standing, how they were walking, how they were conversing with one another. They all created this plan, this environment, this atmosphere where it fit their mold of who they are and the truth of what they felt like that is actually happening. They directed the movie to that. So Jay, what does it have to do with sales? What does it have to do with business? What does it have to do with any of this stuff that I'm going through? You have to start walking in the wish fulfilled. So if you find yourself saying that I want to be I want to be a millionaire, or I've been told so many times that, I'm going to be a millionaire, or I keep having dreams about me living in a mansion, or I keep having dreams that I'm traveling and I'm speaking in front of large crowds. Well, that's the ideal self. Your actual self, you either can understand two different ways. You can either say, well, I'm not there and I don't know how life is going to happen for me and how things are going to unfold for me, because right now I just don't see it. Or I can say, you know what? I'm choosing to become her every single day. I'm choosing to become him every single day. What does that person look like? What does that person act like? What time do they wake up in the morning? What time do they go to bed? What kind of foods do they eat? How do they work out? How do they wear their hair? How do they wear their makeup? How do they govern themselves throughout the day? So all those questions I just said how to are the questions that you're asking yourself in your actual self that is that you expect the responses to come from your ideal self. So this is the woman or man, because we have a patriarch in here, but it has to come from a place of the ideal self, the ideal person that we want to become. Some people call it the true self. You can totally call it the true self. You can also call it the higher self. Whatever you desire, that higher self has so many answers, has all the answers of what you should do, be, and become. So you got ideal self, and then you have self-image. Like I said, at this moment, how do you see yourself today? Self-esteem is the third component of Carl Rogers' self-concept theoretical framework that talks about how much you like, accept, and contribute to your self-concept. So in your self-esteem, just like I talked about, like, how do you contribute? So like, how do you date, right? Who do you say yes to? What kind of friends do you have? How do you allow people to talk to you? How do you let your boss talk to you? How do you let your coworkers talk to you? How do you let your children talk to you? So all these things that we allow people to inject into us, these conversations, X, Y, and Z, has a lot to do with how we see our own self-esteem. Because at any rate, like how we're allowing people to treat us and how we treat ourselves is contributing to the if, when, or the hope that the ideal client will unfold from there, or it's not going to unfold based on how we're allowing people to contribute, including ourselves, to our actual self-concept. I hope that made sense. And I hope that was clear. So the law of assumption, right? So the law of assumption has a lot to do with this, the wish fulfilled. But it's also something that it does that I absolutely love. The law of assumption is probably my favorite universal law. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because the law of assumption, when we talk about assumptions, period, or to assume, we're assuming something to be a fact. It's not a lie. And I'm gonna tell you what's the difference between a lie and an assumption, okay? So when we talk about a lie, right, we're talking about, I made $100,000 a month, but in actuality, you really didn't, and you did not. So it's something based on a past concept that did not come to pass. That's just like me saying I am a size 4. I'm answering someone's question, I'm a size 4, when clearly they can look at me and say, you're not a size 4, Jane. In that ideal self, no, I don't want to be a size 4, my ideal self. But if I wanted to become a size 4, then a lot of that inner work, that self-concept work, has to go on privately. Because if I'm saying it to other people, when they ask me, girl, what size are you? And I say, oh, yeah, I'm a size 4. First of all, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy, because it's like, there's no way you're a size 4. And then number 2, it's going to make me look even worse, because it's feeding into my self-esteem that this person doesn't believe that I'm a size 4. And I know that I'm not a size 4. So not only is this, it's not contributing to my self-concept. How should I contribute to my self-concept? By telling myself in the mirror that I am a size 4, because number 1, I did the work to get here. I'm exercising, I'm eating correctly, I'm staying stressed less. I see myself every single day losing a pound or half a pound or a third of a pound every single day, because I'm keeping myself in a space where I'm eating healthy. I'm feeding my body nutrients and fuel to process so it can support me in this human existence. And by way of that, my body is the most fit it's ever been. What is going to start happening is that my body is going to start taking cues from the mind, because the mind is the place where the programming is happening into the brain space. The brain then commands the body to move accordingly. And as a result, everybody around you, you will start to see a different perspective as opposed to what it was before, when your self-concept was in the lower vibration, in a lower space. You weren't seeing the good of your desire. You weren't seeing your land of milk and honey. And you were taking information thinking that that was all you were worthy of receiving. Which is also sometimes why sometimes we undercharge. And we undercharge not based on a strategy, but we undercharge based on our self-concept. You know, Jesus acts in the book of Matthew, I want to say 19, chapter 19, and it's a very familiar scripture for some of you that are familiar with the church of the Bible. And it talks about, I think it was Matthew 16, I believe. I got the wrong scripture. I think it's Matthew 16. And Jesus asked the disciples, who do men say I am? Or who do men think, or what do people think the Son of Man, who is he, right? And so the disciples started talking about some people think you're John the Baptist. Some people think you're this person, some people think you're Elijah. But the thing is that he flipped the question to now asking, who do you say that I am? So it wasn't that Jesus was unsure of who he was. He wanted to know that they know and was sure of who he was. So what does that mean for you in terms of the business? Is that when you get to a place in your company and a place into the marketplace, people are going to start coming to you in different ways. You're going to either start receiving people that think that you're an authority, or people that's still trying to feel you out. How do you position yourself to be an authority as opposed to someone who they just kind of fly by night? Because I know that there are people right now that still need their parents' validation even to run their business. There are people right now that still need support from their families to run their businesses, because they are looking for the validation. And because their family doesn't support them, their family, their husband, their spouse, their girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, whoever doesn't support them, they feel like that is the absolute limit as how far they can go, because their self-concept is rooted in their approval. Like, I can't move because I can only move if my mother fully supports me in my decision. I can only do this business because, I can't do this business because my husband thinks it'll be a waste of time. Well, that has shaped your self-concept, because if people don't believe that you can achieve what you desire to achieve, then you're going to believe you're not going to be able to achieve it. Because you haven't, so whose energy is more dominant? This is where energetics come in, because energetics has everything to do with who you are. I used to did not even understand energetics until I understood that I was practicing that the whole time. In the quantum field, it exists until you bring it into the energy, into the energetics. In the energetics, or in the energy of the thing, which is now rooted in the I am. This is not new age. I really want y'all, just please detach from that. Don't, this is new age spirituality. No, there's nothing new age about any of what I'm saying. It's not new at all. But you have to understand that if God is no respecter of persons, then that totally supports the universal laws and precepts. And Robin, I'm so glad you said that. She said that we just have to align with what already exists. And see, that's the thing. Everything, and I really want y'all to really hear me when I say this. Like, I really want you to hold this in your belly. And every time you want to counter, like sometimes you have to argue with yourself. You have to go into a mini argument, a micro argument with yourself and say, now hold on. The thing is, everything you desire, everything that you want, everything that you dream of already exists in the quantum field. Okay, Jay, like, okay, quantum field, what are you talking about? In the thought space. In the thought space. If you can think it, it's available. Everything that you desire already exists. Even if you desire to get married. I remember my friend had said that. She was like, my husband is here. He's walking around somewhere. The only way that you're going to be able to meet up with this individual is if you make the right, if you turn left, if you keep straight, if you go to bed at a certain time, if you decide to leave the house at this time instead of this time, if you decide to wear pink instead of black, or you would rather wear red rather than navy blue, because red is, or pink is the color that he turns his head and looks at it and it grabs his attention. And then you have this story where I used to always wear navy blue. But this day I wore, pink and turquoise. And because I felt light today, I felt good today. So the thing is that it's a domino effect that comes by way of feeling. Because feeling in yourself and listening to God within, Holy Spirit, as I know the church calls the Holy Spirit, but God within, the intuition, the God mind, is going to tell you exactly like, instead of wearing navy blue today, let's try different. Let's try purple. Let's do purple today. And it's like, you all of a sudden you think like, purple? Why do I have to wear purple today? Because you don't know that you're going to go to your local grocery store and your dream mate or whoever it is, favorite color is purple, and purple caught his eye, her eye, whoever's eye. So this is the whole piece. Everything you desire already is here. It's here for the taking. It's here for your possession. It's here for what you desire. But one of the things too that you have to also realize and understand is that you have to start dismantling belief systems. So this is where the rubber meets the road here. In the law of assumption, is you have to create new beliefs about everything that you desire to change. If you want, and Robin, while you're here, building a business is all about creating a business that supports you. So if that is to be true, how am I treating this business to support me at all times? First of all, I got to believe that it can support me. How do I believe it can support me? I believe that I have the stamina, the knowledge, the intelligence, and the understanding of how to build my business. And I'm absorbing the courage to reach out to more and more people and move them to a sales place, to convert them. And you have to even start telling yourself, I am a great amazing salesperson. I'm a great salesperson. I'm a great salesperson. So this is an exercise for you to do. And this is not going to bleed into acknowledgement of creating a different reality per se, but it's also is to create self-awareness so that you can stop thinking those self-sabotaging thoughts. So for example, one belief that could be keeping you back is saying, I am terrified of sales. Or I am afraid that I am not going to make as much money as I did in my previous position or my job. That is a belief, right? You look at the belief and then your brain will start to try to find, it will try to find evidence. It will try to find evidence of the truth that you're trying to dismantle. So it's easier to find evidence that that old belief is true as opposed to not. So how do you create a new belief? Okay. So if you start to look and you don't have clients yet, or you haven't reached that level yet, what you need to start doing is having courage, but you also start looking at other people's opportunities or other people's testimonies, which is why I am so huge. Some people think, and I'm not saying that anybody thinks that in here, that people will sometimes think that I tell people to put their results in here for me. And I'm not saying nobody thinks that anybody thinks that way in here. I hope not. But I want people to put their results in here so that you can know the possibilities and your brain has evidence that it is completely possible for you. And even take it a step further. The reason why I also have people to put these results in there is so that you will take the extra step to step out and even ask that person, okay, I know Coach J's model works, but in my sphere of influence, in my trying to understand the day-to-day concept, how did you reach that level of success? How long did it take you? What beliefs did you have to jump over? The reason why I'm saying all these things is because your brain is looking for evidence for you to do something different than you did in the past, and it has none. Your brain has absolutely no evidence that you can hit a $100,000 month. So what you have to do is go to somebody that can tell you the information to help you to understand the bit by bit concept of how to create a $100,000 month the easiest and the fastest way possible. Because you've only heard that $100,000 is only achievable within 12 months. Or it takes you 2 to 3 years to get there, 5 years to get there. But for someone to tell you that you can achieve this in 30 days or less, or 6 months or less, you're like, okay, I've never done this before. So if I'm creating a different belief, I got to go seek it out. Self-concept is not static. It can be changed. It can be, it can be reconstructed. So the exercise, Like I said, write down every belief that you currently have that you know that you want to change. Every single belief, even if it scares you, even if you don't want to own up to it, even if you don't want to see it on paper, right? Cough it up, like vomit that stuff up. Anything that's laying in the walls of your muscle or in your tissue space and is causing harm to your destiny, all that needs to be detoxed and brought to the surface. Write that stuff out. Write it out and look at it. Don't look at it from a standpoint of, this is so true. I don't know why it's true. You look at it from an outside, from a third person standpoint and say, wow, this is what came up, huh? And even if you have to talk to yourself, your ideal self then will take over. Woo, that's good right there. Your ideal self. I'm getting to that, Robin. I'm getting to that. So your ideal self is going to kick in. That's why it's so good with self-awareness. Your ideal self, your higher self will actually step in on your behalf. In front of the actual self and say, all these are lies. All these are bold-faced lies. So what you're going to do, you're going to draw a line, and then one by one, thank you, Robin, you're going to cross out each belief one at a time. But before you start crossing out all of them, you're going to get very, very still and very conscientious and very present and write out that new belief in detail on the other side of the paper, or you can flip it to the back, or you can have a whole nother sheet of paper and just start crossing it out as you go. And what's going to instantly start happening, because paradigm shifts can come very quickly, and you can actually, this is self-parenting as well. This is self-soothing. As you are writing out these new belief systems, you are going to instantly feel yourself come up into a higher space in your mind. And that's when you start rising up to the God mind, because possibilities actually start to surface. You will start to think better. You will start to see better. And that's why it's so important to be in spaces where people are doing well, and that hopefully people will reach out to you and say, or you can reach out to them and say, listen, I'm really trying to dismantle some of these beliefs. And you don't have to go into, I went through all this when I was a child, and I went through all this when I was 12 and 15 years old and blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody cares about any of that stuff. To be honest, your childhood has absolutely zero to do with who you are now. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because a child that's been rooted in trauma, you have one person that went in the way of abuse, and then you have one person that went into the way of the billionaire. Because the person that went into the way of the billionaire in the happy life, in the exciting life, chose to allow the child to have that experience and not let it leak into their present moment or in their future. But the one who went into the way of the opposite and the contrast decided to take their inner child, that 12-year-old self that's wounded and mad and upset, right along with them into adulthood. And they're living their 12-year-old self over and over and over and over again. And they never grow up and become adults. They always are looking for someone to be mad at. They're always looking for someone to blame. Because my mom didn't care for me. She didn't hug me enough. So what you need to do is you need to create new beliefs. So how do you consistently do this? How do you consistently root yourself? Especially if you get up in the morning and you don't quite believe it the way you believed it the day before. Well, you get the paper again and you write it back out. You write it back out, you write the old belief again and say, I'm still believing that this is true. Why is that? Your ideal self is going to step back in and say, here we go. We still here. This is how you self-coach it. Y'all, I don't know if y'all, like that was a quick one right there. It's literally that. You keep writing it out until you don't believe it anymore. Until it almost sounds insane. Like, why am I still writing this? This makes zero sense. Because if I'm creating a new belief, I'm creating the self that believes this. It even goes to relationships. I'm gonna be honest with you, that's a whole different ball game. I ain't even go there today with law of assumption dealing with relationships. Woo. Stay tuned. But for now, let's focus on the money. Let's focus on the self-concept. Let's focus on that I have a following. I have my dream clients. I have these things, right? So more to come. We're going to have another lesson on this probably on Tuesday. The part 2 of this lesson where we're actually going to write out these beliefs in specifics. And then we're going to look at words. And I have a book that I just bought not too long ago that talks about how words are very powerful. And even writing them out is very powerful. Scripting and things of that nature. That's a whole nother ballgame. But I want you to feel empowered. Like, start that exercise tonight, today even, and just really rework your belief systems and just know that this is a constant unfolding. Even me at almost, very close to, 500,000 in 2 years or so, I still have to dismantle beliefs at different levels. So when you do those things, and I'm getting ready to close, when you decide to shift into new beliefs, you will notice your environment will start to shift and change and bend to your command. You will start to see a new experience being unfolded every single day. Things that didn't bother you don't bother you anymore. People that you thought that counted you out, they will start to encourage you. People that you thought you were never going to work with, they start to work with you. They start to come back. That happened to me the other day. I had somebody that I always wanted to work with, and I always felt like she was so, what is it called? So advanced. But then I started to say, but that doesn't feed my self-concept very well. Like, that's dumb. Why can't I work with somebody at that level? That's when I started my higher self stepped in, was like, girl, what is you saying? You are absolutely 100% worthy to work with someone like that. Like, are you kidding me? All of your clients you are esteemed to work with. You are on. So this person, oh my gosh, how dare I work with this person? But all your other clients, like you're totally comfortable with that. Well, what does it say about you, and what does it say about everybody else? That says to me that you feel like this person you got to tremble and crawl to. Are you kidding me? When all your clients on an equal scale are all amazing to work with. This woman at this level is it's the same playing scale. There's no respecter of persons. She's going to get the same service as everybody else. I'm not giving her another elevated, quote unquote, first class experience. I'm gonna give her the same experience that I've always gave everybody now let me say this, everybody is treated absolutely amazing, in my opinion, in my containers, because I treat y'all like I'm partnering with my clients. And I'm being transparent, because sometimes we will think like this, especially when you get a book of clients, you're like, I really want to work with that person, but I just don't know. No, stop that. Stop that. All of your clients that are coming, that are here, all love to work with you and you love to work with them. And they're a joy to work with on all levels. There is no favorite. There is no one person that really just, no, that is not like the way you want your business to be ran. And again, I don't know how you want your business to be ran. But I want to give you some consolation there is that everybody deserves the best level of you, no matter how that comes. And your beliefs are the ones, is the one thing that's going to shift people into that dimension 100%. You being reality to you. You will start to see things, even, I'm going to say this too, even exes, even people that you've, been involved with in the past that you still have to interact with. Everybody that's in your vicinity it's almost like extras in your movie. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna go. I was looking at something last night and the person was talking about filler people. They're like this little statistics. I don't know if I believe it or not. Obviously I'm free thought. So, I respect everybody what they think and that's none of my concern, or whatever. But I remember this person said that only 15% of the people in your vicinity have souls. And I was like, what? Because I remember my daughter even asked me, she was like, Mommy, how do I know that you're even real? Like, how do I know that you're real? I'm like, well, I'm real. She was like, you birthed me, but I don't know that you birthed me. And I said, well, that's a good point. I ain't never think about that. And I thought that was so funny to me. But this person, I'm leading to a point here, is that this person was saying this 15% of the people in your active space, 15% of them have souls. And then this one lady said, well, the same person said, just look on your block. I feel like sometimes I'm the only one that goes grocery shopping on my street. She said, I never, ever, ever see anybody else coming from the grocery store, or I don't see them at the local grocery store. I've never been in any of my neighbors' houses. I've never seen some of my neighbors. I see cars pulling up, or sometimes I don't even see cars pulling off or pulling in. But these are extras in your movie. And I just thought that was so intriguing. Because if this is the case, I have way more power. We have way more power than we think. Because I started thinking to myself, I was like, I don't see anybody going to the grocery store. I've never seen anybody pull groceries out of their trunks. I've never seen, I've been here since, what was this, March, beginning of March, end of February. I've never in this time seen anybody exactly, Robin, exactly. So what does that say? Oh my gosh, what does that say about, this is why I say it. You can literally write people's names down and they become your clients. Robin, can I be honest? You're on that, you're on that list. I had several of you on that list that y'all came in. Some of y'all came in by way of another energy, but you're here. It's almost like y'all were kind of like, it was some domino. But I specifically wrote y'all's names down. But I say all that also to say this, is that in your world, I've heard this before, law of assumption in so many ways. In your world, nobody has free will. So Robin, looks like this is a one-on-one with you, boo. Like those people that you've had coaching calls with, Ain't nothing wrong with you writing their names down, because in your world, free will, is it really free will? I don't want to look. I don't want to step on nobody's toes, because y'all be like, "Wait a minute, what is she talking about?" I'm getting nervous. But this is a great lesson. I'm going to really delve into that as we go in these next couple of weeks. This is going to be good. I hope some of y'all sit and watch the replay of this, because it's really, really good. But definitely write those names down. It's Sunday. It's a perfect time to do that. I have a couple of calls tonight, which I'm really excited about. And we're going to have a great Monday. We're going to have a great Monday. We're going to have a great week. And there's nothing wrong with writing some names down and create new beliefs. Create new beliefs. I can't wait to see how things unfold, Robin. Robin, definitely look at this again if you can. And feel free to like send me a message if you have in-depth questions about this, because I would love to know what you think. Anybody else has questions about this, let me know, and I can definitely put this in a lesson for me to delve into more this week, because it has everything. This is literally like the law of assumption is literally how I built my business. It's very interesting, because I didn't even know that's what it was until it was explained to me that that's what it was. All right. Y'all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your Sunday, and let's make it happen. Take care, get your rest.